Okay, you've done all your prep work to get ready for the interview, right? Well, of course you did. Now what? It's time to do the actual interview. We'll talk about that in 5 seconds. Hi, I'm Greg Kleist. I'm the host of The Road to Your Family History. Thank you so much for joining me. Hey, before we jump into the topic at hand here, I want you to go down below. There's a red subscribe button down below. If you could click that, that would be great. That tells me that you like these videos and you want to see more. It also tells YouTube that you want to see some more of these videos too. So that would be great if you can do that. Thank you. But now, let's get down to business. All right, folks, now it's time to do the interview because you've done all your prep work, right? Yes, it's essential that you do your prep work. I have 4 other videos that come before this, things you need to do before you actually do the interview. So check below. I have links to those videos down below, and you'll see all of them. And you can watch all of them through those links. Now listen, this brings me to the first thing I need to mention. Your prep work is essential. I can't even tell you anything more than that. This is really so important to do before you do the interview. It's going to make your interview that much better, that much easier. So take a look at those 4 videos. Okay, the next thing you need to take care of is to test your equipment before you do the interview. Now, you need to ensure that your audio or video equipment is all working properly and that you have preferably fresh or newly charged batteries in them, because that's really going to help a lot. Or if you're doing it on video, make sure that your screen capture software is working right. If you're using that, I would highly suggest that. I would also check your audio levels before you start recording, or when you start recording. Check those audio levels, because sometimes for some reason the audio level may have been turned way down, like down to just about 0, and you really don't want that. You want to be able to hear what's going on. But ideally, these things should be done right. All these things should be done right before you start the interview, just to make sure everything is gonna go great. How are you going to start the interview? Don't just walk in the house and say, okay, my first question is, when were you born? Where were you born? Where was grandma born? Come on. You probably know the person anyway, so just do some social niceties at least before you start going. Like, how are you doing? How was your trip to the beach? And so on. Now, you don't want this to take too long. You don't want to use up all your time in small talk, but a little bit of small talk beforehand is really going to help. So when you're ready to start, after the small talk, at a good breaking point, say, okay, hey, you ready to get started with the interview? And then go into it. Now, make sure they're okay with your recording choice. Now, you should have addressed this when you set up the interview. If you did set it up in advance, and I hope you did, but sometimes it's not always possible. So if they said it would be okay if you audio record the interview, just say, well, I have an audio recorder here. If it's okay, I'm going to use that. We talked about that before. And, because someone could change their mind at the last minute. Once they see you sitting there, once they see the actual recorder, although nowadays those digital recorders are small and compact, so it shouldn't be too intrusive, but there might be some people that just decide at some point that, no, I really don't want you to record my voice. I don't like the way my voice sounds. If they decide they don't want you to video or audio record it, well, then you're going to have to take notes with a paper and pen. So make sure you have those supplies with you too. The next thing you need to keep in mind is use your question list. Now, we talked about this in previous videos, so if you haven't seen them, once again, go below to see links to those videos, because this is vital that you have this question list. Because I know lots of times, I know for me, I think it happens to lots of people. Once you actually sit down to do the interview, you really forget which questions you thought of to ask that particular person. So refer to that question list. If your subject goes off on a tangent, gently bring them back. Now, there's going to be exceptions to this, of course. Now, if they go off on a tangent that is directly related to your family history, well, in lots of cases, you can go with that. But don't let it go on and on and on unless it is really giving you some fantastic information. Because eventually, you have to bring them back to that list of questions that you put together before that you had that you really wanted to and needed to ask that person. So yeah, gently guide them back to that list of questions you originally had. How long should your interview go? Well, that's a subject that's up for a lot of discussion, but I would suggest anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes, unless the subject insists that you go longer. Now, that's great if they insist you go longer because you're going to get more information. But regardless of how long you go, you have to take a break at least once per hour, or if it looks like the subject needs one. Now, obviously, if the subject needs one or says they need one, well, you can take your break then. But what happens if they decline? They say, well, I don't really need to take a break. I don't need to go to the bathroom. I don't need to get a drink. Well, then you say that you need to go to the bathroom. Whether you need to or not, say that so you can get a break. It's going to help you. It's going to help your interview subject too. Because when you do that, they probably will get up and get a drink or go to the bathroom themselves. So again, regardless, remember, excuse yourself to go to the bathroom, go there 10 minutes, then come back. You'll be refreshed. Your legs will be stretched a little bit. Then you can continue on your interview. So, finishing up on the interview. Well, like I said, it can go a long time, but I would suggest not going any longer than 3 hours. I think it's about the very most that anybody, including you, can probably do well in this interview environment. Now, once again, there may be exceptions, especially if you're coming from out of town to do the interview. But if nothing else, wrap it up. Wrap the interview up and make an appointment again for maybe the next day, the day after, or maybe next week if at all possible. Now, if they're insisting to go longer, tell them, well, I think I can go maybe another 20 minutes, but then I really have to get going. So bring it back on you. Don't make it their fault or anything wrong they're doing. Just say, once again, yeah, I think we can wrap this up in about 20 minutes, and then I better pack up and go. Finally, thank them for their time and information, and ask them if you can contact them later with any follow-up questions based on the answers they gave in this interview. And we'll talk a little bit later about what you can do after the interview. But after you've actually done the interview right there still with them, thank them. Thank them a lot because they've taken the time to really block out time for this interview and to give you information that maybe they've given nobody else in the family, maybe nobody else in the world, maybe not even their own children, or very few people, maybe only their children. So thank them profusely for what they've done. And, you just might get another interview to get more information later. Wouldn't that be great?